A tie in baseball? The A's tied today to the Seattle Mariners 1-1 in a pretty slow game offensively, but good game when it came to pitching. The A's only had 2 hits, and one of those hits was a 6th inning solo shot home run by the second baseman Tony Kemp to tie the game up at 1, and the Mariners scored their only run in the 5th. And obviously, it was only a 7-inning game. There's no extra innings. It was a pretty chill game, I guess you could say. 2 hits for the A's, 3 hits for Seattle, and pretty good pitching. I think that's one thing we needed to fix because you look at the past games, we've given up like 10 runs, and a lot of runs in general. The pitchers for the A's were Dalton Jeffries, Raymond Guduan, J.B. Wendelken, Miguel Romero, Wanderson Charles, and Montana Durapa. Some of those guys I haven't heard of, but I definitely have heard of J.B. Wendelken. He had a really good game. Perfect inning for him. As most of these guys only pitch like about 1 or 2 innings. Dalton Jeffries pitched 2 innings. He only allowed 1 hit, 1 walk, and he had 3 strikeouts. So pretty good game for him. Montana, he had 2 strikeouts, so good for him. But the A's, it was a pretty slow game offensively. V-Mail, Machine, the guy I've talked about before, he was the other hit for the A's, and they did commit an error too. So the Mariners had 3 hits, but they had some guys get on base as well as an error. For the Mariners, they had an RBI from Luis Torrens, their DH. So that's how they got their only run. And their pitchers were Justin Dunn, Nick Margevicius, Gerson Bautista, Jaime Schultz or Jamie Schultz, and Taylor Gurrieri. So their pitching was good too. And obviously we're tied, which is kind of a weird thing to think about in baseball. Obviously it doesn't happen in the regular season. They're going to play the Indians tomorrow, Cleveland Indians tomorrow at 12:05. So all these games are around the same time. Should be an interesting one. We're back at our home stadium in Arizona, Mesa, Arizona. And in terms of, looking at the standings, they don't really matter at this point. But if we look at the standings, the A's, they're doing all right. They're 2-3-1, which isn't like the best record, but it's obviously not that big of a deal, and obviously only half the teams are here, pretty much. So I think it's nothing to worry about. A tie is nothing negative, but it's also not very positive either. So I think we just got to get more hitting. We got to make sure we're consistent. And it was a decent game. Props to Tony Kemp. He didn't have the best year last year. I'd say he probably had one of the lowest batting averages amongst the A's players, but he had a good home run today. And so it's not a very big power hitter either. So it's good to see him get that type of hitting. But if we do look at the standings, the A's are they're like 4th to last actually, but we've only played 6 games. So it doesn't really matter. Top of that is the Chicago Cubs, but if you look at it, Colorado's 3rd. Do we think Colorado's going to be 3rd in the real games? No. Kansas City's 2nd. Do we think Kansas City is going to be 2nd place in the real regular season? No, of course not. So I'm not worried about this at all. And if you look at it, we win one more game, we're pretty much going to jump up there. So, I'm not worried about this at all. But final score 1-1. It was a tie between the A's and Seattle Mariners, our division foes. But that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know your guys' thoughts, and go A's.